Let's get started with how to deploy the machine learning model on cloud and also using Flask, how we can deploy the model. To start with this, we will start with the simple steps. First, we create the machine learning model, and then we do the pickling of the model, and then we create a website template, and then, if possible, right, creating an Ajax request, and then Ajax request. In this case, I'm not going to use Ajax request. If time permits, we'll see to that also, and then we'll create a Flask backend API. And the next one is right. So once we create the Flash backend API, and what we do is uh, we will send the request using there is something called request.py file to our server, so that it can make a prediction, right? It will bring up the index.html file, wherein you can the browser. Okay, so the browser interface, you can enter the values for the independent variables, and then when you hit this um, hit the predict button, it will give you the estimated housing price. First of all, what is model deployment? So you can so once the so it is something like, right, we when you kickstart any project, whether it's a deep learning or machine learning or NLP related project, what we do is, right, we start by defining the problem statement. Followed by this, we will identify the source of the data where we can extract the data, and then we collect the data, prepare the data, and understanding the data. All those things we do it. One second, let me just understanding that, and then finally we build the model, right? So, okay, now my model has been built, and we have evaluated our model, by applying the train model on the unseen data, and now we are able to see the, and now, right, so once you evaluate the model with the by applying the model on train model on the unseen data, we'll be able to compare the training score and test score. Are there any overfit? Let's say you addressed all those issues, overfitting, all the things that you addressed. Now your model is good to go with deployment. Okay. So the model deployment is one of the last stages of any the ML or deep learning project. It'll be a little bit tricky, and so most of them, they think, right, developing the model, and then make sure that your model is generalized well, right? So that is what they think, right? So end of the day, the deployment is also one of the key tasks that needs to be performed by performed in collaboration with various members of the release management team, as well as the team, those located remotely, right? So there should be a lot of collaboration should happen, and also the model, right? So you need to work closely with them in order to help them to deploy. So not all the projects you will have the opportunity to involve completely completely in order to do the deployment. There are projects, yes, you need to do it on your own. Maybe the support guys will be available from the client side, and end of the day, you need to do everything. They'll give you the access, everything for their environment. You need to do it. Okay. But in general, there is a release management team, so they are the one responsible for doing that. Though the release management team is responsible for deploying the model, it is the developer's responsibility also, to make sure that during the deployment time, any issue comes up, you need to help them to support it. Okay, you need to help them, support them to fix it until it gets deployed successfully. So why do we need to deploy the model? So why do we? Okay, now we understood the last stages of any ML or deep learning project. You need to deploy the model. Fine. So what is the objective of deploying the model? So you can deploy the model on cloud. Nowadays, the models are deployed on cloud because most of the customer, they prefer deploying the model on cloud only. Okay, fine. Now you need to deploy the model on cloud. Everything is fine. What is the objective of this? So the objective here is we want our model to be made available for the end users so that the end users can make use of it. For example, you work for a realtor company, okay, realtor, real estate company. So they are the one wanted to make a prediction by keying in different values for the independent variables, and they want to see what is the estimated housing price for a given size of an house and the location of the house and age of the house. They wanted to understand for different combination of the values for the independent variables, what is the estimated housing price. You have already developed the model, now you deployed the model. Now the deployed model will be helpful for those people, the decision makers, to use it. For that purpose, we are deploying the model on cloud. Most of the time we use the cloud. So what we will do, start with, instead of directly jumping into the cloud, first we will see how we can deploy the machine learning models using Flask. Okay, what is Flask? Flask is a web application framework written in Python. Okay, it has multiple modules that make it easier for the web developer to write applications without having to worry too much about the protocol management, thread management, etc. It's all taken care automatically by Flask. The Flask offers the varieties of choices for developing web application. It gives us the necessary tools and libraries. It allows us to build web application. Okay. So how do we install a Flask on your machine? So what we do is, right, so we can go to directly, say in this case, I'm using a Windows. Guys, in real times, we don't use Windows at all. For the demonstration purpose, I just show you how do we do this. And this is my command line prompt, pip install Flask. I already installed Flask. Okay. So what is Flask? What did I say? Flask? Flask is ka framework. Okay, it's a web application framework. Okay, written in Python. So what I do is I just press enter here. Okay, pip install. Okay, I need to get into Python. Sorry, you need to execute this inside the Python. Okay, here 1 second. No, you need to execute in the command line, but here it is not working because pip is not available here. The path is not set here. Okay, let me just try the pip3. Maybe pip3 is available. No, even the pip itself not available. Path has not been set. So what we can do is, I'll just show you guys how I install it. So if you have issues with this, what you can do is you can go to the, let me see if I already opened it. Not this one. So there is the lot of documents are also available. Why it is giving me that one? Okay, I will try this one. Then what you can do is you can open any one of this thing, and but in the live system you will not have this kind of problem. For example, exclamation sign, right after, followed by this, you need to type pip install Flask and then hit the run button here. It'll take some time to install it. I'm going to stop it now because I already installed it. I don't want to mess up the existing one. If I mess up the existing one, I'll not be able to give a demo to you. Okay, maybe, right? So maybe some other problem can crop up. Okay, so you need to execute this command in order to install Flask. It will work. Okay, and you can ideally try from your operating system the command line prompt in Windows. If that is not working better, you can go here and you can start the Python kernel and then Jupyter Notebook kernel. Okay, and then you start the Jupyter Notebook, and the Jupyter Notebook you can type like this and then hit the run button. It will get installed. It takes some time to install it. So after a while you can see that Flask installed successfully. You will see that message. With that, only you should be able to proceed with the next task. If your Flask the application web application is not getting installed successfully, then there is something problem. Okay, you will not be able to launch your application on your Flask. Okay, Flask is a very light web framework. So in this case, I've created three files. One is the model.py, the other one is app.py. Look here, I'll just show you. I create a separate folder called deployment. Here I have something called model.py and request.py and then app.py. So in the case of model.py, I just open it here. I developed and trained a model here, simple model, the linear regression model. In the app.py, I just opened that one as well. So the app.py, I used it to handle the post request and return the results. And finally, there is something else called request.py. Okay, so the request.py file is helpful to send request with the features to the server and receive the results. Okay, so here what we do is we are sending the request to your server, right? So your app.py. So this is my server code. So there are three files. One is model.py file, other one is server app.py. The next one is request.py. The model py, you are pretty comfortable with this. So here we read the data and then we fill any using which we do the data imputation. And then what we do is we convert the words into integer values. And what I do is here I have some columns, right? So experience column. In the case of experience, I have something called 1, 2, 3 text values are there. Instead, I do the encoding. So like 1, 2, 3. 1 is 1 year, 2 is 2 years, something like that. So now I did some kind of data pre-processing. In the y variable, I have assigned the independent variable. In the x variable, I have assigned the independent variables, all the independent variables. Okay. And the next step is pretty simple. We use the linear regression model. So here I have used the linear regression model. Here, what I did, so here the object is instantiated as a regressor of the class linear regression. Okay, and then trained using this model got trained using the independent variable and the dependent variable. Later, the predicted values will get stored. In this case, I did not store the predicted values also, but here I just pass few values. Okay, the predict model dot predict, and here any of this is okay. Here, okay, here I just pass this. And the next one is the pickle stuff. Okay, we have something called pickle. Okay, the okay, and in the using pickle package, I saved my model. Look here to the my disk. So model.pickle. So here I have saved my model as model.pickle, comma WB. Okay, so writable or something like that. Okay, write the file, save this file to a disk. Okay, the regressor using pickle.dump file. Okay, for dump method. Okay, the dump method dumps the object into the file specified in the arguments. So why pickle? Can't I use any other method to save the model into my disk? Pickle is is used to serialize and deserialize. You can do serializing and deserializing a Python object structure. So in one way, it is highly secured one. Okay, so that's the reason why that's also the reason why they use pickle. Okay, in this case, right, in the case of pickle, the Python object is converted into byte stream. The dump method dumps the object into the file specified in the arguments. Okay, and simply we are saving the file. You just think that a model.pkl file will be generated and that one will be stored in your disk. So what so now you don't have to write all these steps. Simply you can ship this model.pkl to your cloud, or you can use only this file to load your model. Okay, the model which you saved it, right? So if you wanted to load it, you can use it here. So ideally here, one second, here I should have used the regressor here. Okay, here regressor. Yeah, I used regressor. Yeah, model. Whatever the name that you want, you can give it here. Okay. So you have something like dump using which you write, save the model to your disk. and using pickle.load, you can load your model. Okay, that is the difference between these two, the dump method and load method. And yeah, so it loads the method. Okay, and so the pickle.load, right, this method loads the method and saves the deserialized bytes to model. Okay, predictions, we can do the predictions using model.predict. Okay, once you load your model, saved model, once using pickle.load, you can load your model, the saved model, you can load it, and then you can make a prediction. So in this case, I opened this model.pkl, which I saved it in this line using dot load, and then I stored it in model.predict. With that, you should be able to make a prediction. So that is pretty much about the model.py. Okay, now, right, so this model.py is got trained. So here we trained the model and we saved the model. The next one is app.py. Here, if you see here, the first line is import numpy, all these things the same, but Flask, you need to use Flask here because you need a web application, framework, web framework, wherein you can host your model. Okay, so the from Flask. So for this, I have installed I shown you how to install Flask. Make sure that you are installing the Flask and then you are doing this one. Okay, you don't have to do anything. All the scripts are available. Simply you need to download it and you can try it out in your laptop also. Okay, so here I have used I have imported the Flask and request JSONify render template from the Flask package. The next one is import pickle. Next one is the Flask, the name. Here we need to pass the name, and here I have opened the model, loaded the model which I trained in using model.py file. And then what I do is, the next step is, you have something called app route, and if you see here the predict API, right? So methods post. Here what happens is the predict method, right? So the predict method in this case, look at the predict method, get the data from a JSON passed by the requester. Your requester will pass a JSON file. Look here, this is the one will pass a JSON file. We don't have to worry about, look here, r.json file. It passed the JSON file to your server, right? So the passed by the record, right? The model.predict method takes, what it does is it takes the input from the JSON file, which it gets received from your request.py, and then it converts that into your 2D NumPy array. The results are stored into a variable called the output here. Okay, the output finally, right? So we are using this one output, right? And we return this variable after converting it into JSON object. Look here, after convert this into JSON object using Flask JSONify method. We have something called JSONify method we imported at the top of this one. Now we are done with this. Okay, and finally, what we are going to do is we need to run our server using this code. Okay, and run by using this code, right? We are going to start our server. So in this case, by default, right, it uses sorry, in this case I have used the port number as 5000. Okay, debug equal to true. Since this is the one I used it. The reason is, in case this is the default port, that's all. Okay, this is the default port. And now what we will do is we will just go ahead and take a look at how to launch this server and how to pass the values. So what we do is we will launch this thing on our uh, Flask web application server. So for that, what I do is I just go here and you need to start the app.py. Okay, it is not available here. It will throw an error. So what I will do is I just go here. I just copy it. CD, and then what I do is, but make sure that you are, sorry, not the CD, and Python. You keep all the files in the same folder. Okay, look here, I kept all the files that are required. So the one is the model.py, request.py, other one is app.py. This is the data set, and this is the index.html, and model.pickle, right? So model.pickle got created while executing this one. Okay, model.py. Okay, and the web framework, right? So if you see the index.html, here I have created the simple index page. Here, I mean, the style sheet, I've used it here. Okay, we have a separate style sheet. We don't have to worry about it. So look here, I'm going to get three variables values, three independent variables values here. So I'm going to, get the values from the end users for these three independent variables from the browser. Okay. For the, the HTML tags, right? If you don't know the HTML tags, you can ignore it. Okay, don't worry about it. But end of the day, you need to have this file. It's index.html file also. So now what I do is I made sure that all the files are available in a common, in a single folder itself. Okay, so initially what I did, I just went to this default folder, and here I just type python app.py, right? This is not the correct way of doing it. So what you do is you just switch over to the folder where you kept all the migration related code. Okay, the release related code. Okay, we are doing release. Okay, the last stage of the machine learning model, we are doing it. We are deploying the model. Okay, so now what I do is I just press enter. Let's see what happens here, whether it is working fine or not. Good. So now this one, right? So the serving Flask app debugger pin to running on HTTP. So now my Flask web application service is running on this one. Next, what I do is I just select this one, and then I just go here and copy this one, and then go to the browser, and then here you just paste it, and then you just, all of you can give it a try. Okay, this one, it should work. Look here I just say the experience is 10 years, and the test score, let's this guy, right? Specific person who attended interview recently, his experience was 10 years, and test score was, let's say, 5. You got the rating, test score was 5, the interview score was, let's say, 3. And when I hit the predict button, what will happen is, the look here, I just hit the predict button. Look here, the predict method got invoked automatically in my app.py, right? In app.py, the request.py file sends the request. Whatever the values that I typed it here, that one will be converted and stored, sent as a JSON file to my app.py. In the app.py, we have something called the predict method, right? So predict method here. So right, so this value will be sent here automatically, and then it'll return the JSONified, the predicted values back here. Look here, that is what is displayed here. Okay, and if you see your index.html, here prediction text, right? This is the one I have used it to return the predicted value and display it here, right? The prediction text, employee salary should be something like that. Employee salary should be, it comes from other file. It's pretty simple, the Flask one. Okay, so all you need to do is just make sure that you are installing the Flask successfully, and then this code, I had some problems in it. I fixed it, okay, because the very older version of these files I was using it, and then I just fixed it. Everything, it took longer time, though it appears very simple. But make sure that you are having these two folders also. In these two folders, you have the index.html file, all these things. You need to copy the entire thing and then download it in your laptop, and then install Flask first, and then give it a try. So make sure that in your command line, you are able to execute Python. Look here, Python. You need to In my case it is working, but most of the students, they said they were not able to execute Python from the command line because of the path issue. So if you cannot execute, if you get error like Python, when you type Python, press enter, if you get any error, or you just try with Python 3 also, Python 3, even Python, it's not recognized as an internal external command. Okay, the Python, you just try. Even when you try the Python, if you get something like, then something wrong with your path. And what you do is just go to this PC and properties, and you need to add an environment variable, advanced system settings, and then environment variables. Here you just go here, and then what you do is in the path, just click on edit, and then click on new. In your case, look here, in this case, in my case, the Python file was available, exe file was available in this folder, C users welcome Anaconda 3. I just go here and I'll show you. Look here, the python.exe is available here itself. Okay, we don't have to do anything. It's available by default there. Once you install Anaconda, it will be available there. Okay. The next one is, yeah, that's it. Once you click on new and then copy paste this location, right? This folder path here, and then click on OK. That's it. Then the next step is click on OK. And when you go to the command prompt and if you type Python, it should work. Even in my case, when I typed Python, it was not working. It was throwing an error like this one. Python is not recognized as. In that case, what you need to do, you need to go and check. And also make sure that in this folder, in your system, python.exe is available. Right. So, and if it is available, I hope all of you would have installed the, you do not make any changes to the installation, right? You do not change the installation path and all. Don't do that. Okay, right. So if you have not changed any installation path, then it is fine. Okay, then you can simply use my method. Right, simply go and specify this, and then you'll be able to find out the python.exe in this folder. That's all. Okay. So now we are able to launch our web. See, now it is on live. Okay, we have launched or deployed our model on, on our Flask web application, okay, framework. So now you are able to. So the end users simply can go and type the value whatever they want, and they can predict. In the case of housing price, they need to enter the probably what to do. Take this model, these three. You don't have to do anything for app.py, and model.py, you just open it, and then what you do is in the model.py file, what you need to do is you need to include, for example, housing price or related data set, and then all the data, pre-processing step, everything. Simply you take my script and then put it here, and then that's it. The next one is you fit the model with the independent and dependent variable. Next, you save your model using pickle, and then load your model using pickle in the same file. You don't have to touch these lines. Okay, guys, you don't have to do anything. Make sure that just above this, from here to here, right? So you are creating the x and y variable, or the train and test split, train and test data set, you can use it. And then what you do is here, the train, x underscore train, and y underscore train. That's it. Only here you need to make changes. That's all. Otherwise, you don't have to make any other changes here. Okay. And here you just pass some value here. Okay. This for our purpose. Okay. If you don't want to specify anything, you can probably, if you want to comment it, you can comment it out. Got it? So the three files, the model.py and app.py, and the index.html is already available. You can probably go ahead and add some other things. Simply copy paste it, and then what you do is here, housing, this one, the size of the house and the area and age of the house, something like that. Okay, specify that. That's it. Okay, and the prediction, text will get filled with the predicted values. That one will be passed from your app.py and all. Okay, you don't have to worry about that one. Very simple one. Try with that one. And the only thing is here, right? So any of we have created other file that I kept it in another laptop. Okay, the design and all very good. The HTML design, wherein we can it accepts certain independent variables values, and then when you hit the predict button, it will display it here. So, okay, so to conclude, so here I have shown you the model.py, app.py, and request.py to train and save a model, to handle the request, to make a request to the server, and so on. So after coding all of these files, the sequence to execute file should be model.py, app.py, and at the end request.py. First, you need to create the model.py, like I said, right? So because in the model.py only you are saving the model.pickle file, the model.pickle file. But make sure that you keep all the files related to your deployment in a single folder. Don't keep it here and there. It will not work. It will throw some error. Unnecessary confusions will happen. So in my case, I just kept everything in this folder. Okay. Or simply you copy all these things in the deployment folder and then you give it a try. It should work. But you need to you need to remove this model.pkl if you are going to use the linear regression model which I demonstrated, housing price prediction. So in that case, you need to execute this script. And then how do you execute this? In Python model.py, you need to go to that folder. So most of them, they don't do that, and finally they come back to me saying that it is not working, right? So you can avoid those kind of issues. Okay, deployment and cd deployment, Flask master. What you do is here, Python, what is the model.py? You need to execute this one here. And in my case, I have kept the data file also here. Yes, Jiva, tell me, you have any questions? Jiva Anandam. Okay, you just want to see whether you joined, right? Okay, fine. Win32 application packages in model. So line model.py. Okay, packages in model check versions. DLL fail importing. So anyhow, you don't have to worry about this. Okay, what you do is, if you get this kind of error, simply what you do is, don't break your head. Simply copy everything into your this thing notebook, Jupyter notebook, and then you can generate it here. I just paste it here. And now I just go back here and see model.py is on 25th, 25/10 October. Okay, fine, Jiva, no problem. So you are doing good, right? So health and all fine. Okay. So now here, what I am going to do is, currently I'm not in this folder. Here, make sure that when you use the Jupyter notebooks, generate this one, you need to specify this path explicitly here. In this folder, I just want to create this file. And then what I do is I just hit the run button. Let's see what happens. So here it is running. It is in progress, the star. So whenever you find star, right after executing this script, you need to wait. Don't expect the output instantly. Look here, it is working fine. The predicted, it gave me this one, no error, nothing. And if I go to this my folder here, model.pickle, look here, today's date. It shows this is the one you need to create it. You need to make sure that, let's say, the reason why I'm saying is, you don't want to use this data set, you want to use the housing price data set, right? Replace, you simply take my entire code from my linear regression model, replace it here, and then make sure that in this folder you have that data file is available. And then here you need to specify the path name here, okay, where you kept all the deployment related files. All these are right, including these two folders. All these are called your deployment folder. Okay, and here I just create a request me.md. When you use the GitHub, okay, in your, that is not required now. This is the idea of it. Okay, So what you do is you just watch my video and then practice it. Don't panic. Don't think it's a very complex task. Very simple one. It is a plain vanilla. I gave you everything. Okay. I gave you everything. You should be able to do it and give it a try.